I believe that we're constantly shifting between different versions of ourselves. Our energy frequency comes from our emotions. So the way that you're feeling will change that frequency, whether it goes up or down, left or right, and this is why we're always shifting.
A Codega is a guide and a storyteller, escorting you through the night, lighting the way, warding off thieves, ghosts, demons, and other oddities. Along the journey, his companions would often share with him the most curious of stories that he'd record in his codex. Perhaps you just might find yourself traveling with a Codega and sharing one of yours. Click that like. If you're new here, subscribe and have the bell hit for notifications to stay up to date on all of the new content. Imagine this. You're sitting in your living room, flipping through old movies, when something catches your eye. It's the Berenstain Bears, one of your childhood favorites. But wait, there's something off. The title isn't spelled how you remember. Instead of Berenstain, it's Berenstain. You check again. No, you're sure it was different. You even ask your friends, and some of them agree. It's not how it used to be. Yet, the evidence is right there, clear as day, but it feels wrong, like a memory from a different world. Now, you start digging, you find out you're not alone. There are others, thousands of people who remember things that never existed. Febreze with two E's instead of one. Looney Tunes with a double O instead of Looney Tunes with Tunes. Then you hear about Nelson Mandela. Some swear they remember him passing away in prison in the 1980s. But history says he lived until 2013. You realize these strange inconsistencies stretch far beyond your childhood memories. Could we all be misremembering, or is something bigger at play? Welcome to the world of the Mandela Effect, where memories shift, timelines blur, and reality itself seems to warp around us. I'm Rai, the Codega, your guide tonight through this eerie corridors of alternate dimensions, parallel universes, and glitches in the Matrix. Tonight, I'm joined with Cesar Pagan from the podcast Beyond the Frequency Beyond the Frequency. Together, we'll peel back the layers of mystery and explore whether our memories are faulty or if they're proof that we're slipping through the cracks of a multiverse we barely understand. As usual, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. To support the show, check out my Patreon. You can become a YouTube member. You can also buy some kick-ass merch in my Printify store. So, this week, I'd love if you could send me some pictures of you out exploring. Check out the areas, checking out areas of high strangeness, anything else like that. And if you do have them, send them to Codega's Codex of Curiosities at gmail.com. Now, without further ado, let's bring Cesar to the show. Cesar, how are you doing?
Yo, this is awesome, man. I'll tell you what, your intro, amazing.
I write them up before every show, and that's why I was kind of a little bit late, because I was like, oh man, I got to write this one up. I haven't had time. I'm working all day. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I was watching it and I was like, oh man, I gotta step up my game.
Oh, or do you mean my intro video?
Well, the intro video,
Yeah.
and then I mean, and then obviously, your spiel about what what to expect on the show is great, but the intro video was just so cool. I was like, "What am I watching here?" I was like,
I,
so
you know,
kudos.
I get double thumbs up all the time about that. So thank you. I appreciate that. It's kind of that's one thing I like to focus on. I'm like, I really like to give a good opening, and then give you an introduction of what the Codega is. And you
Yeah,
hopefully you got that.
I got that. I got that. That's so cool. So thanks,
All right.
thanks for having me on board.
Yeah, for sure, Caesar. So why don't you tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself and where they can find you?
Sure. So my name is Cesar Pagan. I'm the host of Beyond the Frequency. I actually just launched my podcast about 2 weeks ago. So I'm a new podcaster to this whole world. So I appreciate any support I can get from anybody, who's ever interested. So a little bit about me. I like to start off by saying that I am a Air Force vet. So I served for about 13 years and then I got out. And I'm actually before and after that, I've been a huge, huge explorer of the universe, the ancient knowledge, the supernatural, right? I think I started off with, being a fan of superheroes, right? So the X-Men and, Thundercats and all the good stuff that I used to
Yeah.
watch back in the day. And, um, and I'm half Panamanian and half Puerto Rican. So from the Panamanian side, there's been a lot of, always a lot of stories in Panama about, witches and warlocks and ghosts and, everything that you can imagine. So I grew up with a lot of those stories that really just caught my curiosity. And I just wanted to know, like, do I have superpowers? Where am I from? Like, where are these entities coming from? How are these things happening? So yeah, so now I'm grown up and I'm doing a podcast.
It's funny how we get on this path. It's something that spurs us or pushes us in that direction. And so you would say it was all the supernatural and superheroes that kind of pushed you into this direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially the superhero aspect. Like from a child, many of us and maybe you have shared this too, that for a child, as you're discovering yourself, you go through what you're born into, right? The religion that you're born into, the demographic, your environment. So you try to maintain and be, blend in with all of that. But then as you get older, you start asking the same people that gave you this foundation questions that, to quote my podcast, go beyond that frequency, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes they can't answer those questions. And then that's where you start, as a child, you start saying, well, I thought you knew everything. I thought you were able to answer all of my questions. So once you realize that they didn't know everything, then you start looking outside of your group and
Yeah.
your community, and then you start learning that other people have different stories, and that might be answering your questions, but with stories and explanations that never came to mind. So
I
interesting.
I agree totally. I agree totally. You hit like a glass ceiling. You hit this roof where you can't get any more answers. It's because they don't have those answers anymore. And sometimes like you kind of idolize. I don't want to say idolize, but you put these people on a pedestal, and you're like they know everything, and then you start to realize no, they're just as human as you and me, and they've kind of stopped that journey, that expedition into this unknown because they feel that they've had enough. And for me, it was never enough.
Exactly. Yeah, once you start asking that first question, I think mine, if I remember, I believe mine was, um how far can I go? Like, meaning, like, how what's my limitation, or do I not have a limitation, right? And then by asking that question, I then start testing things out. I used to believe in my mind that, and this just sounds silly, but that I could fly. I really believed that I could fly. Like, it was in my being. Like, if manifestation was strong then at that time, I feel like I could have started levitating or something. But as you start searching, you start kind of finding alternatives or things that will supplement that feeling. So I got into doing magic tricks, you know. I started doing magic tricks. I felt that was my superpower, and a quarter here or a ball disappears, and things like that. Just as I'm still asking those questions, I'm still satisfying that need to be more than just average, if that makes sense.
It completely. Do you feel though that your innate belief to fly pushed you into the Air Force?
That's a great question. Geez, okay. I want to say that it may have had a little bit.
Mhm.
I'm actually from a military family. So my dad was Army. I have a twin brother. I'm 2 minutes older. I tell that to everybody, but I have a twin brother. He went to Army, and we have friends and things like that. And my son, who's 16 years old, he's a junior in high school now. He's going to join the Air Force as well. So I think that's been part of our DNA, I guess, our bloodline. We like to serve, but part of a big group.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I guess the Air Force just made natural sense. I guess with my family being Army, why did I go Air Force? I Sometimes I just say because I was smarter. But I don't know. It could be. Yeah, yeah. Maybe there some subconsciously maybe wanting to fly just made sense. Whenever I looked up, all I saw was blue.
Mhm.
So yeah, good question though.
It just seemed to make sense, if you had this innate will or this belief to fly. Like for me, it was like telekinesis. I swear I could move things. And I could and I can make things move. And I don't know if you've ever tried that cloud busting. Have you ever tried cloud busting or cloud breaking?
Oh, I've heard of that, where you look at the cloud and you try to, like, move them or separate them.
Well, you try to make it disappear. You make it
Oh,
disappear,
have
and
you done that? No?
numerous times. Yes,
Interesting.
which brings us to, do we have these powers, or are we in a matrix and we're kind of playing with the code and we're able to manipulate that code because that's such an easy thing to do. It's like a baby step within this.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a great segue to our holographic matrix, you know?
Exactly.
I think so. Let me mention this. Have you ever heard of Indinker codes?
No. Please tell me.
Okay, so this started off with there's a professor in Maryland, Sylvester, no, James S. Gates Jr. That's what it is. He's a theorist, in quantum physics and things like that. He's a professor in Maryland, and he basically studied a code that basically explained the ether of reality. And this is a code that a lot of theorists in his field study for years, but he decided to break it down even more. As he looked further into this set of codes, he found out there was these symbols. These symbols look like um, there's a tribe called the Dogon tribe in South Malaysia, and they have these like symbols on their clothes, on their pottery, and they look like this. Kind of like when you go to like Word document and you change your font to like these symbols, you
Okay.
know.
Yes.
And,
Yes. I
but
forget what it's called, but it's called like
yeah,
yeah. There's a
or something
tiddlywinks or something. I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. So that's kind of my comparison to that. But this Dogon tribe had these symbols that looked just like the codes that he found, and they called it Indinkras. So he decided to call them Indinkra codes, which is what he says that he found. Now, as he looked further into it, he discovered that these Indinkra codes were the same error correcting codes that we use in web browsers and on the internet. And these same error correcting codes are what's correcting things in reality in the ether of space. So, kind of going back to the Mandela effect, the error correcting codes, if for some reason the universe knows if something needs to be corrected or changed, we think these error correcting codes, these indicator codes as they call it, are what making these small changes. whether it be a blade of grass on the other side of the planet, it's still a code that needed to be corrected. So you guys can find it on YouTube. He's on a panel with led by Neil deGrasse or Tegrice, I
Oh,
forget.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, and he was this panel was a convention of esteemed scientists. He was part of the panel, and as Neil was going down the line asking, these scientists, "What are you guys working on?" They got to him, and he's like, "Well, I actually discovered that we actually are in the Matrix," and the whole show stopped. And Neil and the professor had a straight face, and Neil was like, "Wait a minute. I need to make sure that we all heard what you just said. Are you saying that you found proof that we are in a simulation?" He's like, "Yes." Like, straight face. Is I've watched that YouTube videos so many times because it's so interesting how everybody's reaction was, and he explained the indicator codes and how that works and stuff, but ever since then, I have been really, feeling like we are in the matrix, and some of his explanation and his research does explain that. So yeah, it's pretty
So
interesting.
that is fascinating, and I've heard of those codes before, but I never, I didn't know who was researching them and looking into them. But I heard of the Dogon tribe, or what is the name of the tribe again?
Yeah, the Dogon tribe. Yeah, they're
Mm,
in Malaysia, and they're an indigenous group,
yeah.
and they actually the ones. If you go to them and you ask them, like, how do we get here, who put us here, right, things like that, they're going to tell you Palladians, from the constellation Pallades. And their whole story, now the Dogon, they don't have technology like us, they're not like, they don't have internet or anything. They're literally a tribe, but everywhere that you look, in their clothes, in their buildings, and things like that, they have depictions of the universe, our solar system, the exact positions of our planets, our sun, the different constellations, and there's not one book in sight. And so you ask them again, how did you get this knowledge? And they're like, Palladians, you know? And so the Pallades, I'm not sure if everybody knows where that's at. So if you look at the constellation Taurus, and then you look at which is the bull, and then you look
Yeah.
at the eye, there's an eye, like a kind of like a red shimmer. If you follow that eye about northeast upwards, like towards its tail, you will see three stars that they call the three sisters, and that's the Pallades. That's Pleiades constellation. There's actually seven sisters, but there's only three that we can see. I believe the seven sisters was from Greek mythology. Atlas, he had seven daughters. They ended up going into the sky. So those are each star represents one of his daughters. That's a different story, right?
Yeah.
But interesting. So are you familiar with Subaru?
The car, right?
Yeah, yeah. So the car has a logo, right? Like every other car, like Honda, Nissan. So the Subaru logo is actually of three stars, and it's three stars, I think, with a line or something on there. And those three stars are the Pallades constellation. So
Okay, cool.
I didn't know that, as I learned about the three stars for the Pallades, and I ended up seeing that Subaru had that too. And then I also looked into what does Subaru mean. I thought Subaru was just Subaru. I, I don't know
Yeah,
what that
just
was.
it's just a name like Ford or Chrysler or something like that. Yeah.
Exactly. But apparently, in Japanese, it's translated to unite.
Ooh.
So I don't know if they plan on taking over all the other car industries.
And uniting them, become a monopoly.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, but if looking at that base word of meaning unite,
Mhm.
if the Palladians came down to Earth and they passed information or knowledge, to us, maybe they were trying to unite the humans that were here at the time, you know I do know that the Palladians, and we're talking about there's all kinds of races. I mean, we're talking about like hundreds of thousands of races there and everything. So we're just gonna say the Palladians in general. The Anunnaki is it's just one of many of them. Um, and to be clear, real quick, the Anunnaki isn't a particular race. Anunnaki is just a word that was used to mean those from the heavens down to below. You know,
Okay.
so yeah. So it's like if you and I went to Mars to introduce ourselves, we're not going to say like I'm not going to say I'm Cesar Pagan from Tampa, Florida. I'm going to say I'm Cesar Pagan from Earth. You know,
Yes, yes, yes.
so that's what that is. Um, but anyways, I forgot where I was going with that, but yeah, Subaru.
And the Palladians and
Oh,
the Dagon tribe with the symbols
yeah,
and mhm.
yeah. The Palladians. I was gonna say that from my research, looking at ancient texts, and we're talking about like tablet stories and things like that, scrolls and whatnot. They talk about that the Palladians, they are a how you say a create let me see what was it called, jeez, creator beings. So they
Okay.
actually will go from planet to planet throughout the solar system or throughout the galaxy, and they would actually create uh new beings. You know, like that's what they do. That I don't know if that's their job particularly, but they're millions of years in advance with their genetics and their technology that for whatever reason that they're seeding these planets, they're just good at it, you know? So that also leads to, to us, we're one of those seeds. So
So I definitely have a question then. How does that tie into the Matrix? How do alien civilizations tie into the Matrix?
it's a good question. So we're
And
looking at,
I'm not expecting to see if you have
yeah,
an answer, but if
yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
a yes, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I have what I believe I know, right? So
Yep.
so how does it tie in? So the aliens are just like us in the sense that we are shifting through the different dimensions, okay? As well as different parallel realities. Now, just to get a measurement sense, dimensions are vertical, so it goes, up to down, while parallels are from horizontal, side to side. And when it comes to the matrix, geez, man, I mean, what a very broad question here, because every dimension is a different frequency,
Mhm.
and the third dimension is the most dense. So a lot of these beings that come from different dimensions, they have to become dense. They have to come, to our reality. But but that's just to follow the laws and the physics of existing here and everything. But the knowledge that they bring in, you know, they can pretty much they can move things with their mind, with their somatic, frequencies, with their vocal cords, telepathy. Um, and so they're able to do a lot of things that we can't, because of the knowledge that they have from different frequencies. Like you and I are third dimensional beings. If you and I went to like a 1D universe, we would be gods, you know? So
Yes.
it's just shifting our density, and then bringing that knowledge with us. So with that, with the matrix, I think it's just what frequency you originate from, will allow you to do, incredible things, I believe.
Cool. That's I like that. I like that. Now, why do you think we're having these glitches in the matrix or these Mandela effects? Why is that the code just correcting itself? But why is it correcting itself to something that is different than what we know?
Yeah, good question. So I believe that we're constantly shifting between different versions of ourselves.
Okay.
How is that happening? From what I understand is, let's go back to the subatomic level, right? Atoms, atoms are vibrating all the time. and they're neither here or there. All right. So they're always vibrating between different frequencies. So let's say if we're looking at a radio signal, 99.1, 99.2, 99.3, they're always shifting back and forth. And the reason they're shifting back and forward also has to do with our energy frequency comes from our emotions. So the way that you're feeling will change that frequency, whether it goes up or down, left or right, and this is why we're always shifting. So in this case, when we're talking about like a parallel universe, let's say the right side of us is a positive version of us where we're happy, we're getting everything that we want, while let's say the very left parallel universe right next to this one, we're feeling the opposite. We're feeling down, depressed. So whatever feeling that we are feeling right now, we're going to shift into one of those, you know? And then let's say if we're feeling really depressed, we're going to keep on going down the left side. And if we're getting really happy, we're going to go there. So I don't think the error correcting codes are correcting things in just one universe. It's happening simultaneously. And we're just jumping around. And as we jump, we see changes. So like, if let's say you shift to like, I don't know, I'm just gonna throw a number out there, 10 parallel universes to your right. Um, it could be, that the only thing that changed was that you're you no longer have a tree, in your yard or something like that, or even the change may not be local. The change could be a rock, a small rock, well, a small pebble was moved from here to there in Brazil. You know what I mean? The shift can be minute, but
So minute.
yeah, so you won't really know where you're at. So you have to just, I guess, be present in the moment, understand how you're feeling, and then you'll have an idea where you're at. You can't just call a parallel universe like parallel universe 1, 2, 3, or 4, because you don't know. But pay attention to how you're feeling and keep in that direction if that's where you want to be.
Cool. I really like that interpretation. I think that's fantastic. That we're shifting over, kind of. We're bouncing over to these other timelines, and now I like that. What is your thoughts on? Because I know a lot of people believe that our world, as we know it, was actually destroyed, and that we shifted over into another timeline, and that is into a parallel, because it was such a traumatic event that these consciousnesses had to be all moved over into another time
Right.
in life, world. I don't know, a parallel universe. What is your thoughts on that? Did you think, is that a possibility, or is that I don't know?
Yeah, I mean, I believe our world has been destroyed numerous times, right? I mean, countless amount of times. If again, infinite possibilities, right? So if infinitely, it could have been destroyed infinitely amount of times. And look at it this way: there could be uh, a parallel universe or a version that you destroyed the planet. There's a version where I destroyed the planet. The 8.5 billion people alone, there's 8.5 billion versions out there that those people have destroyed. Now multiply that by the animals, the one insect, the birds, like it just keeps going on. So that's one infinite bubble. Now then you add subcategories like, was it by nuclear? Was it radiation? Was it a meteor? Like it infinite possibilities. So yeah, in that sense, the world has been destroyed numerous times. I think the people that are not um they are not changing their frequency. And
Yeah,
I don't mean like a quick like, turn on, right? But people that are stuck in a certain way. There's the people that are awake like us, and then
yeah.
there's those that are just complacent. They're like, okay, I know something's going on, but I don't care. I don't want to know. Like just,
Yes.
so those folks
Just give me
are
my Starbucks. Let me order
yeah,
my Amazon and have my cheeseburger.
exactly. They just want to exist in this material world and they are what they project is coming just from their mind, where what we should be looking at is what's coming from our consciousness. There's a mind view, and there's a conscious view. There's two different holographic projections. So if I'm somebody who's seeing the world through my mind, through what I know, through what social media is telling me, through what the politicians or the poly tricksters, as I call them, are
I like
telling
that.
me, right? And then you're an awoken person as you are now. If both of us are in the same situation and seeing whatever the same scenario, our stories are still going to be different
Mhm.
because you're seeing it through your conscious mind. You have a different understanding of what's happening, while I'm seeing it through just that's just what it is.
Yeah.
So um I I lost my train of thought on on that
No
some
worries. No worries.
sometimes when you go a little out there, you kind
So
of come back.
okay. So what put you on this path to search out, to search out these other realities? What drive was there? I know in the beginning you said, superheroes, and you had this innate, but was there something else that pushed you to research this?
So mystic knowledge. Okay. There's our dogma, what we learn in school, right? What we learn in school, college, whatever that they tell us, or as they call it, his story, right? It's his story, not our story,
It's
right?
true.
So um mystic knowledge was something that I wasn't being told, and I knew that it existed. And at first, the way I got introduced to mystic knowledge was my again, from the Panamanian side, my father, my grandfather was known throughout his time as a white warlock. I didn't know what that was. I'm like, when I heard warlock, I'm thinking of like what's the guy from Lord of the Rings, Gout, the
Oh,
with the
Ganlef.
yeah, Gandalf or something like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know anything else. But apparently, he would use what's called white spells, and he would recite words depending on the need, the time, the circumstance. I don't know what the case was, but there was times where, like, let's say if he was getting chased down an alley by some thugs or something, he would recite some words, and then he would be there, but they wouldn't see him. So kind of like
Really?
invisible. And there were cases where my mother would tell me, my mom's one of five sisters, she's the youngest, and she would tell me that she would see two of her older sisters just walk through the walls. I think there was a situation where there was an argument, and the older sister was behind the door outside. I guess they locked the door on her or something, I don't know, but her intention was so strong that she wanted to come in, and she just walked in through the door. And
Wow.
I was like, now again, with the grain of salt, right? I'm just like, all right, it's cool. I've heard about, family members with enhanced strength, and things like that. So the point is that my grandfather, who had passed away years ago, I think when I was 12, I'm 42 now. And um he had these white spells written in a book, and the family was always trying to find this book. And so at 12, when we went to this funeral, the plan was to grab this book. But when we got there, the book was gone. Apparently, his brother, which I didn't know that he had a brother, found the book, or knew where to find it, took it, and no one's ever heard of him to this day. Decades after, no one knows what happened to him. They saw him once. He went somewhere to the house, grabbed something, which believed it was the book, and he was gone. So things like that just kind of like say, like, it's not just my family, but it's like I feel this in my DNA, in my frequency, in my energy. um I tell this something, right, I tell this to certain folks, so I'll mention this here, that I tell folks that I am a God, not I am God. I am a God, and that's based off of the fact that I have a piece of his divine energy. We all do, right? We're all
Mhm.
imbued with his So that's why I refer to that comment as I am a God. So if I have a piece of his divine energy, even if it's like in a fingernail, that's enough. That's divine energy. So with that being said, I do have the abilities to manifest things, to create, to to love, to be empathetic, all of the all of these things from that divine energy. So I don't know if I answered your question, but there it is.
No, that was great. That is fine. That is fine. Well, okay. So all this energy and this manifestation, have you done anything? Have you created? Have you manifested anything that blew your mind?
Yeah, we so obviously we create every day, right? We create
Yeah.
things. I mean, I created this podcast, right? Created my kids, like, but
True. True.
I've always wanted to um as I when it comes to what my power was, it's been a search. I went to a friend of mine who reads tarot cards, and apparently since little she has these three spirits that follow her all the time, and she talks to them when she does these readings. Before I went to her, for years, I always have dreams that I have telekinesis. I always feel like I'm moving things, and I move it as easy as I move my finger. Like it's just something that I do in every single dream. And, so I'm thinking I must have this power, my subconscious is telling me something. So for years, magic tricks, right? Just trying to find a way to supplement it. I finally went probably about a year ago to my friend and I just said, "Look, this is kind of weird, but I need you to talk to your spirits and tell them if or ask them like, is that my power?" And as she was reading, she told me that I was interpreting my dream a little bit incorrectly. Yes, I have the power to move things, but not through telekinesis. She says, your power to move things is through communication.
Ooh.
So I was like, because she says your words are very powerful. You can move, you can change your reality, you can change the direction of your life um through just your words. So she says to amplify that, you need to be put into a setting, put yourself in a setting that you can use your words. Podcasting,
There we
speaker,
go.
right? Speaking to people. I've always in the military, I was a sergeant, a staff sergeant in the military, and I would speak to like 300 plus troops at one time, and I thought I would be scared, but it turned out I was really good at it. So, and that also helped me practice. So, communications, what I found out was my power, and any avenue that I can find to use my voice, which is apparently the power that I had from the day I was born, you know, find a way to amplify that, whether it's this mic or
Yep.
whatever the case is. So yeah, again, I keep losing track of your
Of
initial
the
question.
question, but that is fine. No, you go on some amazing like journeys with your answers. I think it's fantastic. What's kind of unique is that you, as a kid, believed innately that you could fly, but you've had these dreams of telekinesis, and like that must be my power. And then with me, as a kid, I had this innate ability, like belief that I had telekinesis. But these dreams of flying, I would actually always dream of flying, and that I could actually control myself flying. And I'm like, maybe that's my power. No, I'm just saying that now. Maybe that's my power, but that's interesting. That is really interesting.
It's
I'm like,
weird because what you just said is the opposite.
it's the opposite. Yeah.
Interesting.
Because
And
I have many many dreams of myself flying, and a lot of times though it's not like I'm very good at it though. It's like I can kind of like hover and drag my feet and just kind of like go along and just but I can fly. I know I can fly in a lot of my dreams, and I'm like, yeah, this is how you do it.
I fly too. I fly a lot
Cool.
too, and really high as well. But
Yeah.
just never really looked into it. But it's our subconscious mind. It's our higher self. One thing. So they tell you like when you're meditating to listen to the silence, right? And people normally take that as literally what they're saying. They're telling you to listen. So people are like closing their eyes and then trying to hear a whisper or a sound, and that's not the answer. When they say listen to the silence, you want to listen to your higher self, and your higher self communicates through frequency, through energy. So it's the feeling that you're listening for. Even though I said feeling, and I also said listening, you're listening for the feeling. So
Mhm.
now when it comes to frequency, the highest frequency is love. The lowest frequency is fear. Okay, and we're going to
Yes.
get to that in a second. But so when how do you know? The question is, how do you know when your higher self is speaking to you? And that's two particular feelings: when you're passionate about something and when you're excited. How many times have you gone somewhere or done something and you're like, I want to do that? Or like, I need that. Or you saw something on TV and you're like, oh, that's so cool. I want to buy that. You were excited. That's your higher self telling you, hey, right, that's for you. Get it.
Yeah.
You know? And when you get it, how do you feel?
Fantastic.
Exactly. You're the whole point of you want to make sure that your frequency is always high. This is why you always this is why they say live in your passion. One of the two highest frequencies, right? And if you live in your passion, then the result, the product, the waste is money. Money's gonna be flowing in. You won't even think about it, right?
Yeah.
It's coming in, opportunities, right? The good people, that can amplify that frequency will come into your life when you live in your passion. And when you're excited, pretty much the same thing, you know? So I always tell folks, don't go chase the money. The money is not the goal. It's find something that excites you in your life. That's it. Period. And then everything else
Will
fall in
fall
line.
into place.
Yeah.
I like it. I really, really like it because I agree with you totally. And I was told many, many years ago that I needed to, find my calling by, it was a shaman, it was an African shaman. And he had told me that, you need to find your calling, but you need to merge your spirituality with your work. It has to be that balance. Otherwise you're never going to have that balance. And it's for the longest time, I was like, I don't know how I can do that. There are two separate worlds until I created a world where they both could be joined.
Yes. And isn't that beautiful?
It is. It is. It's. I love it. Like this is, and creation is amazing. I love being a creator. I love creating things. I love providing, and I will say that, like, love is the highest.
Frequency.
Yeah, love is the highest frequency. But I think our most powerful gift is imagination. So don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. I believe love is the highest frequency, but I believe our most powerful gift is imagination because that is creation. Without
Yeah.
imagination, we cannot create. And I, I think it's amazing that we should always be building and creating you know, just working with our imagination. Always create something else and create more because it's a muscle, and we can then build on that. And then with that, I believe manifestation comes along with that as well. That imagination, creation, manifestation. I think they all work hand in hand.
I love that. And you're absolutely right. Do you know, so looking at our brain, right? The left, the right, and then the middle, right? The cerebellum. Do you know which side of your brain, which one is your creative side?
I believe, isn't that the left? Because the right is the logic.
No, it's the other way around.
Oh, okay, okay. So I'm
Yeah.
messing up. So the
No,
left is logic and the right is
the
creation.
creative side, right? So when we are born and we're toddlers and we're coming into this new world, we're using our right side. We're putting stuff in our house, we're touching things, we're just curious, we're imagining things. And then comes school. Then all of a sudden we hit, like, 5, 6 years old, we're going to school. And then what do they teach you? They start teaching you to use the left side of your brain. They start teaching you to use your logic.
Yeah.
So now you're not being creative at school. Yeah, there's projects and there's things that you do in school, but they're starting to teach you how to think logically and rationally according to their standards, right?
Yeah.
Then you start now bringing the left side up and the right side down. So when you first try to solve a problem, you start thinking logical before you start getting creative. And that's the problem with school and the antiquated system that they got going, because it's really just here's what here's what your story is, here's how here's what you should do, and this is how you should do it, and then you're going to move on to the next, and we're going to prepare you for the real world. You and I both know school doesn't really prepare you for the real world except for like the basics, right? Your math, English, things like that. The only thing that I would say for the education system that I really like is math, because
Okay.
it's a fundamental. We know that the language of the universe is mathematics.
It is. I agree totally with you on that one. Yes, it's math doesn't change. You know, it is 2 + 2 is 4, more or less.
Exactly. So math is great. Now, now English is great, but English is also very limiting. It's the most actually it's the least powerful language, in the history of mankind, and to include the ancients. The true language is the language of light, which is like, because all we're doing right now, you understand me because I'm using my somatic frequencies a certain way that you understand what it is that I'm saying. But the ancients, they've talked about, they were able to move reality, like, let's just say, just for shits and giggles, the pyramids, right? The
Yeah.
blocks, right? Let's just cut straight to it and everything. Those giant blocks, they were moved through somatic frequency. It may not just be through voice, but there was some technology. But the point is that they understood the technology, the mechanics behind how to move solid matter, which, and again, it's not really solid because an atom is actually 99.9999% empty space.
Yeah.
All right, but let's just call it what it is. Um, but they were able to move that, and they were also even able, through somatic frequencies, able to turn light, which light has a mass of its own, and they were able to turn light to solid. So to us, it looks like something just appeared out of thin air, but it's actually, the atoms have always been there. They just understood and understand how to collapse those atoms into a density that becomes, to us, solid. So the point is, the moral of this story is that if you and I can get to the point where we understand our frequency and the frequency around us, and we understand how to tune in like a radio dial, tune into the frequency that we want to address, we can do whatever we want to that frequency. We can distort it, we can change it. You can't destroy it. You don't destroy energy, but you can change its route. You can change its shape. You can change its density, so on and so forth.
Fantastic. I love that. Yes, and I totally agree with you with being able to manipulate the energy and change it into something else. Be able to bend it. And instead of, and it cannot be destroyed. We know that energy cannot be destroyed. It can be changed and transformed into something else, but it will never be destroyed.
Yeah, absolutely. I
I
got a
love that.
guy, I got a guy who I'm going to be doing a podcast on my show in a few weeks here, and I met him through. I was going through a course really quick where I was learning how to see without sight. Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
because I've been opening my pineal gland for like a long time. Okay, I'm into, just by the way, I'm into remote viewing.
Cool.
I'm into clairvoyance. A lot of cool stuff. But anyways, but along that lines, that has to do with the pineal gland, because the pineal gland is the key, right? I think you understand that the pineal gland is,
I agree. I agree.
we know, I mean, I'm probably going to reiterate what you already know. We know right now it's calcified, for most of us.
Mhm.
And you can do breath work, kundalini exercises where you can just keep hitting that, chipping away at that calcification until you hit that crystal, a small
Yeah.
little crystal that resonates. And then, I mean, forget taking mushrooms and DMT. That's the thing right there. If you can do it for yourself,
You
and
don't need
then
any of that.
you don't need to do all that stuff. Yeah. But I was saying that, yeah, so I was learning through on how to do this scene without sight. I met this guy. We became partners just through FaceTime, where we had a practice holding up a card or colors. And, he's over there like in a different state and everything. We were able to like, I'm like 3 of clubs and a green triangle and things like that.
Cool.
Um, yeah, it's fun. Maybe sometime offline, you and I can do it. And so it turns out that he was like I don't know if it's a chi master, but some kind of master that harnesses his energy. Like he knows how to do it. It's not like Reiki, it's something else.
Okay.
And he ended up showing me live. He was able to turn on and turn off his lights through the power of his energy. Now, listen, right? I was like, okay, let me just make sure he's guy's not turning off a
Yeah, he's
switch.
got a little light. He's got a little remote in his hand or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
yeah. But I checked it all out and everything, and had a good visual. So I actually had him take a standalone light bulb with its own
Yeah.
socket. I had the plug like on the camera, so I could see the plug going in, the base, and the light bulb. And his hands were like up here, and what he was doing was he was focusing on the light around the light bulb, and he was squeezing it and then you start seeing it flicker until it just went away. And then he was able to bring it back on and stuff. And he was showing me about the muscles that I didn't know that existed, that are in your cerebellum, which is that muscle right above your cluster of nerves in the back of your head.
Mhm.
Um, near there, your pineal glands right in the middle, and there's muscles there that you can actually squeeze. And you can actually squeeze, and it's very hard how to explain it, but the point is that as you're doing your breathing exercises, not only is that air going up through the back and hitting that pineal gland, but the muscles are also being squeezed to kind of give it that push. And that's what he was doing. He was actually using those muscles to squeeze and focus his energy wherever. He would go outside to neighbor's house and like just turn off their lights in the house. I saw the neighbors he had a camera. He was going for a run. I saw the neighbors pull out a flashlight because they thought their power went out. And I'm like, holy shit. So I'm gonna have him on my show to see if he can do some demonstrations. But
Yeah, that would be
it's
interesting.
just cool. Yeah.
Wow. Imagine that, and I believe that we all have that ability. We all have that ability. And it's like you said, like when you're saying he's got we have these muscles. And that's what I feel that these abilities are. They're muscles, more or less, that we need to practice and strengthen, and we just need to train with them. And the more we do, the stronger they will get. And
Yeah. Did you know, right, that for the Arabic, right? For Arabic reading, do you know that they read from right to left?
I do. Yes.
Right? Everybody else reads from left to right.
Left to right.
But the question is, why do they read from right to left? Now, and that, they're thinking first with their right side before they hit their left, where in the Western society, they teach you the other way around. So there's something to that.
Something to
Absolutely.
be said about that.
Something to be said about it. So what I try to do is I try to work a lot on my right side. Like for example, and it's also good to be, I forgot what they call it, where you can use both arms and both you like
Ambidextrous.
thank you. So I used to just think that it's okay to just be either right-handed or left-handed. But why does there need to be an or? Why not just be both?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
see, the right side of your brain controls the left side of your body, and the left side controls your right side of the body. So you know, and you can fact check me on that.
Yeah,
But
no, I do know that. Yes.
yeah. So I try to. I'm right-handed, but I also switch it up, and if I'm doing like a small note, I'll write it with my left hand. It won't be
Mhm.
pretty, but I'm gonna write it just to kind of get that going. I mean, right? We already use both legs, right?
Right. Yeah. Why not? Why not?
Yeah. Then why? So if both legs, like when they say, "What's your dominant leg?" Are you right-legged or left? Or
Yeah. You never. It's like what? What kind of question is that? Yeah. It's like no. Wait. They're both. I'm both. Yes.
yeah, I'm both and everything. So like, people don't use their other arm that
Hmm.
much. And you're like, why? So the point is that I'm training to make sure this body that we have is a mechanism. It's a machine. It's
Hmm.
an organic robot, an organic avatar. So like use the whole thing. Use
Right.
the whole thing.
And I was thinking about like eye dominance. I'm actually left eye dominant, which is peculiar because most if you're right-handed, you should be right eye dominant. So I'm left eye dominant, and I found that out the hard way shooting a gun. I had a scope, and I'm leaning over looking with my left eye, and I didn't have it wedged into my shoulder good enough, and what we call is I got scoped, and you can still see a scar to this day in my eyebrow
It's
from
beautiful.
that. Yeah, so it's kind of that's intriguing. That's intriguing that you're using your other hand. That's something I would love to start implementing that practice as well. Just
Right,
to
man.
try it. Yeah, why not?
Why, yeah, that's actually the end of that conversation. Why not? You know, I mean, especially like the, there's so many things in our lives that we have no control over, right?
Yeah,
We have control over our bodies, right?
it's true.
So why leave part of it unused? You know?
It's so true. Like that's something I'm battling with right now. When I hurt my foot, and then I'm also when I went to the doctors, which I don't normally do, but I went to the doctors and they're like, "Oh, you got high blood pressure," and I'm like, "Well, I have control over my body. Like this is why." Because of course they want to give you pills and drugs and stuff like that. Like, no, 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 no. I can deal with this myself. Meditation. Of course, healthy eating. I need to have a little bit of a healthier lifestyle. But again, it's kind of like, no, I can control this myself. I can do this myself.
Oh, that I love to hear that, right? And you're absolutely right. Yeah, the pills, they can give you that all day. I'll be honest, I also was told I had high blood pressure,
Yeah.
and I actually don't. So whenever I go to the doctors, I have
Yep.
what they call white coat syndrome. Have you ever heard of
So
that?
you no, but I'm assuming you get like anxious, you get stressed or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Whenever I walk, whether it's a dentist, or a doctor or somebody in scrubs, and this is an actual thing. Anybody look it up, right? So there's an actual diagnosis for it. But anyways, anytime I go into those facilities, I'm actually not stressed, but low key, subconsciously, I am stressed. And because of that feeling is what, amplifies, the high blood pressure and things like that, you
Yeah.
know, and just the whole waiting in the waiting room, then they gotta take your cuff. Like every time they always take it like 2 or 3 times. I tell them, take it
Yes.
again, take it again. Because what they'll do is they'll take it and then they'll see it one time. They're like, oh, you got a high blood pressure. No, take it again. And they're like, oh wow, that went down. They're like, yeah, so what I do, I don't know if you do this, right, but before I take my blood pressure at the hospital or whatever, which I don't go to much, but I do my annual checks, right?
Yeah.
um I take a deep breath. I tell them, give me 30 seconds. They can wait. And then I
Yep.
sit there and I close my eyes, take like 2 or 3 deep breaths, then they take it, and it's always good. It's always good.
That's what I was going to do. I was like, no, I can control this. Like, she's going to do this again. I can control this. And you know what's a crazy thing as well? Like, we're talking about natural stuff and doing things naturally. If you go on high blood pressure medication, they tell you not to eat grapefruits. Okay.
Really?
And
Why?
why? Because grapefruits are a natural high blood pressure type of medication. So that they like it becomes that you lower your blood pressure way too much. So if you're looking for a cheap out, it's like, okay, deal with your high blood pressure, just eat a grapefruit.
Boom.
Boom,
Done.
you're done. Yeah.
Hey, for those that didn't know that, you just learned something today.
Exactly. Because my father takes high blood pressure medication, and he used to love eating grapefruits, and I'm like, why don't you eat grapefruits anymore? Well, I can't with the medication because they're a natural medication, and they it'll be. And I'm like, then why don't you stop the medication and just eat grapefruits? Like,
Yeah.
it's something you love. And yeah, he doesn't get it though. He doesn't get it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, we all try to look out for our parents, and they're gonna be stubborn. So you do what
Yeah.
you can. You just pass the
No,
information. It's kind of like what we're doing here on these podcasts. We're just passing information, we're sharing knowledge. For some people, they'll take it. For those that don't, that's okay.
it is what it is. It's kind of like we just have to leave that information there, and if they want it, they take it. But it's not my job to force it down your throat. I can lead the horse to
No.
water, but you can't make it drink, and that's just the way it is. It's kind of like, I'll put these up, and this is something I'll say is like, don't believe me. Like don't believe the TV, don't believe this, don't believe that. Look into it for yourself. Be the arbiter of your own truth. Be your own gatekeeper, and you make that decision. Don't allow people to take that power from you and make the decisions for you, because we've seen what happens in the past. We've seen some really nasty stuff happen.
I love that you said that. I try to do that, and I'm gonna be doing that on my podcast as well. I try to remind folks, even when I talk to them on a day to day, when I'm sharing information, it's like, look, guys, I am not by no means trying to convince you to believe anything.
Yeah.
I'm just putting it on the table, because that's all that we can do. The last thing I want to do is somebody be aggressive and, like, shove something down my throat by saying that you have to do this and you have to believe that. Why?
Why?
We
Yeah.
already get that from the poly tricksters. We get that from
Exactly.
from all types of government. You go to school, they're telling you this is what you have. Like, I mean, I know you said 2 plus 2 is 4, but it's like, why isn't 1 plus 1 equals 2? I
Yeah.
mean, why?
Because it does.
Yeah, yeah.
Why does it 1 plus 1 equal 3 or something like that? Yes.
Something like that. Have you seen have you heard of Terrence Howard? Have you heard his claims? The one times was it 1 times 1 is 2, something like that?
There was something like that. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
I never watched too much of the Terrence Howard show. Like, it got too sensationalized, and I was like, yeah, I'm more of the fringe things. But I still should actually look into it. I really should.
It's just he's just real quick. He is doing good work. But there's a lot of people like that are like, again, he's a self-taught. He's
Mhm.
self-taught. Like, he's like, what he knows, the average person to learn that, crazy. Like, props is this guy is able to talk to quantum physicists like lingo to lingo. So on that alone, credit to you. But yeah, I just don't think he has the right platform, or the right people are trying to listen and stuff. So
There's a
yeah,
lot of people trying to discredit, of
yeah,
course, of course.
yeah,
Well, Cesar, I want to say thank you so much for coming out. This was a fantastic conversation. We started with the Matrix, and it just, like I said, the conversations have legs, and they just kind of walk in their own way.
yeah. Thank you, Ray. I appreciate you having me, and hopefully we can do this another one at a later
Yes,
point. Maybe you come on my show one day, or even we do a live.
I would love that. I would love that. Thank you so much, Cesar. So one last time, tell everybody where they can find you.
Cool. Awesome. So again, you guys can find me on my YouTube channel, Beyond the Frequency. You can find me also on Facebook on Beyond the Frequency, Instagram as well. I'm also on Spotify. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. That was Cesar. Fantastic. What a great. He's well versed in many things, and he brings up some valid points on. I really liked his take on dimensions being vertical and the parallels being horizontal. It made a lot. It made a lot of sense. Like, we're on different dimensions. We're in the third dimension. It could be the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, and that's above you. So each parallel universe out has its own dimensions above it as well, which is just an infinite amount. And where we're vibrating, we can traverse along that line, on those axes. Can we go up? Can we go down? I'm sure there is a way. I believe that these UFOs, these cryptids, I believe that they are traversing up and down and not on the parallel. So that's something, that's something to look into. So with that, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, like, share it with your friends, share it with your neighbors. And until next time, keep your curiosity wandering, keep the light lit, and always find your way home. I look forward to our next adventure together as we navigate the mysteries that lie ahead. Until our paths cross again, keep your curiosity wandering, keep the light lit, and always find your way home.